Arjun Gill, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Thanks, Scott.
Mate, I've been looking forward to this because I've been hounding you for ages. Hey, if you don't know, Arjun is brand manager, but it's also you're part of the family that created Little India, which is really a nationwide, delight, I would say, because I was a massive fan of Little India even before you became a client. So, how did it? Firstly, your role, and how did it all get started?
My role is, brand manager, franchisor, just do a little bit of whatever it takes to keep things going.
You told me once you essentially have 14 bosses.
I would say that, when our business changed from, my dad used to own sort of all the restaurants across the country.
Yeah.
And then we changed the business model to being a franchise model. Then things changed from sort of being restaurateurs to franchisors. But that's sort of, it didn't make it easier. It sort of make it, it's just another layer of complexity on top of it. But yes, 14 bosses, but also 14 people that not 14 anymore, but I mean, the group we've got, guys that I've sort of grown up with, been around for a long time, and sort of worked together and worked under and now sort of work with for a number of years. So it's pretty cool.
I think it's a really cool story as far as, we talk about, getting started, etc. But I just wanted to capture that as it's a real family atmosphere. You've got people that started on the floor, in Dunedin, now owning the restaurants around New Zealand. It's a pretty cool philosophy and way of thinking that you guys have created there. A real good culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think just stems to mum and dad, how they, I guess, have always run the business from day one. It's always been people sort of come in and work and become, I guess, extended members of the family. And when you are working every day with people, and people, sort of for a long time, over a period of time, you get to know people personally as well as just having a working relationship. So I think it's just that culture was built, I think naturally. Yeah,
because you spend so much time together, but also like you have a real passion for the food and for service, and I think that's an amazing thing that I've seen come through, especially in your restaurants. Let's have a look about how did Little India get started. Obviously, your grandmother, she actually she was training the chefs.
Yes.
So obviously your dad. First restaurant opened up in Dunedin?
Yeah. So before that, mum and dad had a dairy in Ravensbourne.
Yeah.
So mum and dad migrated from England here, and dad, when they introduced introducing GST into New Zealand, dad was an accountant for KPMG, so moved over and was working on that, and then decided he wanted to start his own business. They bought a dairy in Ravensbourne, which also had a takeaway. Fish and chips on the side. Started when my grandparents came over. They started selling a few curries from the takeaway shop.
Was that just because you could? No one else was doing it. Thought it was a good idea. What was the?
To be honest, I just think it was just they decided to try something different.
Nice.
Because
if you look back then, like even takeaways in New Zealand was fish and chips, and then suddenly all of a sudden Chinese sort of came in, and then Indian slowly crept in there, but it wasn't a natural thing that everyone was having. New Zealand was pretty much stuck in the fish and chip mode, right?
Yeah. I guess so. Well, maybe it's just sort of sharing, dad's culture and that sort of thing. I to be honest, I can't really answer that. He'd be better to answer that question. But it just started from that, and then got busier and busier, and then they decided that it's probably time to open a restaurant.
That's cool. Do you know where the name came from? Like, did they?
All I know about the name is that people, when it was discussed with other people that we're going to call it Little India, no one liked it.
Really?
Yeah. That's the only sort of.
Do you know why they didn't like it?
I don't know. I just think it's just maybe different, or why Little. I don't know. I just think that the feedback they got wasn't great. But they just stuck to it anyway.
And then you look at it now, there wouldn't be too many people that don't know, if you like Indian, you would have gone for Little India, guaranteed. And I know that because I play a lot of cricket, and we go out for curries, and everyone wants to go to Little India. You're definitely on that list. People know that it's a good curry. So Dunedin, interesting place to start, right? Obviously you're there, but it's not there. It's obviously student town. right? Is that where, like, were your dad getting students in, or was it, how did they grow the business? Was it just word of mouth?
I think a lot of it was word of mouth. So when they opened initially, they had it set up slightly differently. So it was sort of you came into the restaurant and kind of what you see at the malls now, where
Yep.
you have like the glass cabinet with all the
Yep.
bain maries
Yep.
and everything.
Yep.
So they had it set up like that. And initially, a new place that people came and tried, and then over a small period of time, it was dead and it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So they just decided that, okay, let's get out of here, let's go on holiday,
Yeah.
and think about things and
Yeah.
try and work it out.
Wow.
Came back, redesigned the menu, so it's all table service, a la carte menu.
Cool.
And just gave it another crack, and the change seemed to work. And,
That's cool.
Got busy.
So wasn't working. People weren't really resonating with maybe the like kind of the buffet style.
Yeah.
And then table service. And that would have like I guess back in the day there was a lot of different restaurants doing kind of, it wasn't that natural for, I guess, buffets, right? Or maybe just Indian food didn't strike. They wanted that experience, more experimental kind of dining. That's interesting. It's cool that they didn't give up though, right? Like how there must have been a good holiday.
I think also, the risk that they'd taken of opening the restaurant, there wasn't much choice to give up. Like, if you give up, what do you do next?
Yeah, true, right? Yeah. And was there any other Indian restaurants like in the area? Like, I
don't know whether there was in Dunedin, to be honest. There might have been, but potentially maybe one other.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure whether Little India was the first or not.
Nice. Because the next move was then to Queenstown, right? So you sort of got Dunedin cranking, and then moved into Queenstown. Obviously natural because people travelling, that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Great place to open a restaurant. Obviously, would have been lots of learnings there too. But I guess once you've got one, you've got two, and it's like do you remember your dad talking? Like, was he working at both at the time? How was that?
So the other family members also got involved as well. My uncle and my auntie initially with the one in Queenstown.
Yep.
So I guess that's the start of the building the culture of families sort of working together and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think I can't remember initially who was running things on the day-to-day in Queenstown, but I think it was my auntie and my uncle potentially and my dad, and sort of they'd keep on travelling in between or whatever for that location. I think the reason why they opened in Queenstown was exactly what you said.
Yeah.
People coming to Dunedin, travelling for work, going to Queenstown, saying, "Oh, there's nothing quite that good there, or whatever. You guys should open."
Nice.
And that's how the business has grown. Sort of every step. So it was Queenstown, and then Christchurch, and then it's just that's sort of how it's grown.
Yeah, people ask, "Oh, when are you going to open up here? When are you going to open up there?"
Yeah,
that's cool. Let's talk about the book for a second. This is a beautiful book, Little India at Home. I just wanted to touch on your, your grandmother, right? She's obviously a beautiful lady as far as, loves food and loves the Indian culture and the Indian food. Like, she training the staff, obviously setting the bar. I think that's a really cool story as far as, if you're a head chef, you've been trained by your grandmother.
Yeah, so unfortunately that doesn't happen anymore. She's now moved to New Zealand to be with us. But so the thing, and I guess the reasons behind that is we're hiring migrant workers from India. You want to make sure that if you're going to take all that time and bring someone to New Zealand to work, that they actually can do what they say that they can do. They can, if it's going to take them 45 minutes to peel a bag of onions, it's probably not the right people. And then they've got the knife skills, they've got that sort of stuff, and also that they are sort of genuine people too. So it's to get a bad. So you get a few bad eggs, but if if you're going to get a bad egg every time, it's a long way to come, and all that sort of stuff.
So she was sort of like quality control to some degree, right?
100% quality control. Yeah. And then just sort of teaching her sort of recipes, her styles of cooking, and sort of just again, I think also just the family values of what our business is about. Yeah,
it's pretty cool to hear that from someone like if you're wanting to become a chef and you're wanting to make a different life for yourself, because at the end of the day that's what you're doing, right? You're leaving your home country to go to another country. It's quite a big deal, right? And for a lot of people that'd be quite scary, but I guess having that training and having that kind of mentorship in a way, like, that would have been pretty exciting for some of these guys. And some of these guys now have come on to be the owners of these restaurants, right? Like, I think this is one of the coolest stories, is like you've got people that have trained, gone all the way through the ranks in our own restaurants. I think that's a great story. So credit to your grandma. So she now living in New Zealand with the family?
Yes, yep, living in New Zealand. She's currently in Queenstown with my auntie. She spends time with us. Mum and dad are away at the moment, but spends time with us. Spent some time in Wellington with my uncle as well. So she travels around and sort of enjoys now being here. It was hard for both my grandparents to leave India, but they're enjoying it here with their great grandchildren. And their grandchildren, so it's nice.
She must obviously proud of what you guys have set up too, right? Like it's pretty cool that you've come here and you've kind of you've made a real nationwide brand, right? Like you guys have created something pretty cool. So you'd be proud of that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And like I guess she'd love to see some of the people that she trained now still going well.
Yeah, I mean, Dwalaka, who owns the restaurant in Timaru, he was trained by my grandmother.
Yeah.
He always asks about her. They communicate with each other when they can and all that sort of stuff. So it's a long, I guess, long history of working with real good people.
Yeah. What do you think makes Little India different, like from your perspective? Like, what do you think makes it, look, the different type of food, like you do a couple of things different with the tandoor ovens and that type of stuff. But what is it what you think that makes you guys different in the marketplace?
I just think we don't take shortcuts with the preparation of things. Our garam masala, for example, we have our own recipe. We don't buy a packet of garam masala and use it in the food. So we get all the whole spices. Then they need to be sort of roasted, and we roast them sort of under the tandoor, next to the tandoor, to get all the perfumes and everything out of it. And then it's ground, and then it's ready. So just little things like that.
Yeah.
Make a big difference.
Yeah, because anyone can buy the stuff, right? Anyone, but I think that's what I call in the book, right? If you get a chance to look at this book, Little India at Home, you detail all the spices that you actually make up, what you guys do, and I've definitely seen, it's quite cool seeing your TikTok now, filling up with the recipes that everyone's making and stuff, and just showing the authenticity of those meals, which I reckon is really, really cool. Yeah. So I would say one thing also, we've kind of touched on it, but it is definitely a family atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Like people, the people in the restaurant really care about the people in the restaurant. I think it's fascinating too. Obviously being on the inside, seeing some of the marketing, you see some of the repeat customers. You've got a loyal fan base, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and there's gone intergenerational too. So there are people that got engaged at the restaurant, and now their kids are also and I think that's quite cool.
I think when we did was it the 30th birthday?
Yes.
And we went and we had some of your loyal customers there. One guy, it looked like he was eating like 3 times a week nearly. And loving it. He was proud of that. He stood up and said, hey, pretty much I brought my family here. Now kids bring their kids here, and I just thought that was really, really cool. That's a credit to everyone in the organisation. But you've been through some challenges though, obviously, like everyone.
Yeah.
And running a business, definitely in that COVID time was really, really hard. And how did you guys handle that? What was the thing that got, because you still stayed strong in a lot of areas. You had some ups and downs, but you're still a strong business.
It was, like you said, very difficult. One day you're trading. You've got cash flow coming in. The next day, gone.
Nothing. Yeah.
Taps turned off.
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you look after staff?
Yeah.
Obviously, there was the support from the government to, with the wage subsidies and things like that. And initially, if that hadn't happened, then, a lot of businesses, including ours, wouldn't have continued.
Totally.
And then, we sort of got drip fed that, okay, so now you can operate, but you can only do this. And a lot of it was just communication, talking to the guys, getting ideas from everybody.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
What are the rules? What do we have to follow?
Yeah.
I think we're also lucky that our business is quite strong on takeaway and delivery.
Yeah.
And we already had systems set up for online ordering and the likes of that. So that's really what actually probably got us through.
Because you adapted quite fast. When I look at the landscape of how you guys adapted, versus seeing other businesses adapted. You guys definitely adapted quite fast. You did have that ability to start doing takeaways and delivery. And the cool part about it is people really wanted it too, right? Like they were starved for, they wanted that experience.
It was exciting that first day that we opened again and we could do it. I
remember ordering.
I mean, our online order system, when we first turned things back on, it crashed for the first 45 minutes because of overload. So which was, frustrating at the same time, but also quite nice to see that people have missed the food so much.
Yeah, people really want, and I guess that's the coolest thing about what you built. You don't know how good it is till it's gone, right?
Yeah.
And then it was gone, people couldn't have it, and then all of a sudden people were like, right, cool. And also I think, in all the areas you're in, you do have a really good loyal customer base, right?
Yes, yeah.
And people really wanted to support Little India. I think that's once again kudos to what you guys have created. Like wherever you are, Timaru, Christchurch, and around the North Island, people really support you guys, and I think that's the coolest thing. One of the things I love about going to Little India is and especially if you're local, they know you.
Yes.
Yeah. Where does that get trained? Did that come from the grandmother, your grandmother, or was that your father? Because it really is a cool thing to experience.
I don't know where that. Maybe it's just an Indian hospitality thing.
Yeah.
That remembering people's names or their faces.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, sometimes, even if you, like it happens to me sometimes, so you might forget. You remember the person's face, you can't remember the name, but you remember their order.
Oh wow!
So and then there'll be orders coming in, and the guy, even the chefs in the kitchen. They'll know that that's for that person or that's for that person. So it's a lot of law customers who continue to support us, and thankfully they do. We're so appreciative because, as you said, COVID, and even now hospitality, it's pretty tough.
Pretty tough, right? Because a lot of the laws don't actually help you guys either, too, right? Bringing in the staff and the people.
No, they don't. But then I also do understand why there has been law changes to make it, to actually take a little bit more analysis of who the people that are actually bringing migrant workers in, and the timing of it and the way it was done was, for me, I just couldn't believe. I guess the process of how all that sort of worked out. Because it just made things harder for a long time. Now things are a little bit easier. We are able to get staff over, but just the cost of everything, you're not paying. So if a New Zealander's doing the same job and you're employing a migrant worker to do the same job, you have to pay a higher wage rate for the migrant worker, even if you can't find someone in New Zealand to do that job. So that's a bit frustrating.
And the reason for that is
to try and encourage to employ New Zealanders to do those jobs.
Yeah. But a lot of New Zealanders don't want to do those jobs, right?
A lot of New Zealanders don't want to do them, but also in positions of chefs in the kitchen and cooking a curry. You can get training to do it, but it's not, to work on the tandoor is like an art. Right?
Yeah.
So you can't. It's easy enough to say train someone to do it, but how?
Yeah, you've got to spend the time, the hours, and anything like that. I guess also some industries, you do get tarred by the people that do cut the corners, right, as well. So some of those laws get brought in because there's people who have cut corners, right, and you get kind of stuck with that. Your role though, what's your day-to-day role now? Look, you've also, and I guess we should look at, you also work. You owned a restaurant there for a bit too, and work in the business as well as working on the business. But what's your day-to-day look like now?
It changes a lot, which I like. I started doing the dishes, so I've done from the dishes to peeling onions to doing deliveries to working in the kitchens to working out the front, managing restaurants. I've done a little bit of everything. But day-to-day now is more. What do I do on a day-to-day basis? It's communication and just talking to the guys, and I think it's like a support role. And discussing on how, especially at the moment with things being so difficult and margins being tighter, how do we sort of maybe do things slightly differently to what we were doing? How can we, use time better to still create some revenue? I was talking to Sabash, who owns our Dunedin restaurant, the other day, and was I was talking to my brother-in-law who was also sort of saying to me that what he's doing in his restaurant is he's staying open later, but only for Uber Eats.
Okay.
And doing, sort of like a midnight snack menu. So we've tried that. We're trying that in Dunedin at the moment. Student town. A lot of people out having a good time. They get back at 9:30, 12:30. They're like, I'm hungry. What do I do? So we've stayed out, kept just the kitchen open. And doing some Uber Eats orders, and it's just anything that you can do to create the extra revenue at the moment. That's just what you got to do.
And that's like great innovation though as well, right? Like being prepared to try things, right? And I think that's what gets businesses through at the end of the day too. You can't just sit on your hands and go, oh, it's tough. You've got to innovate. So it's great to hear that. And how's that? Is it starting to work? Is there a few things starting to happen?
It's only just started in the last week or two, but he's already seeing that it's starting to work, and believes that we need to actually discuss that with the team. How do we do a little bit of marketing around it? More people know. So
well, you could definitely be targeting people with either those phone ads at that time, and targeting those students in those student areas. You could definitely be making sure, because students, I know one thing, when they have a few beers, they get hungry, right? And if you can be delivering Uber Eats to them, then that's a little bit of totally targeted advertising would work really well there. And also maybe even fly drop to some of those student houses. I was down in Dunedin the other day and like just looking around, and it really is built on that culture, right, of students, and they love a good curry. I think if you could make it even fun too, maybe try some different types of food that they could eat. I think if you gamify it for students, they'll buy it just because it's fun, right? What could you have? The hottest roti. Who's going to try it? All those little things, right? Because I remember like when we started running the curry championships for you guys. It was a fun idea, but people started getting involved, right? People want to be involved in that stuff. They want to have their opinion. They want to try different stuff. It's amazing in New Zealand though. The same curry wins every year. That's why we had to stop running it. It's kind of.
But also, that was always fun because people were getting emotionally involved and invested in the, and like, oh no, this one's not the best. The one that I think is the best. It's just it's nice to see other people passionate about our food. I guess.
It is interesting to see I think the palate's kind of changing in New Zealand, right? Like people have obviously are starting to try other things rather than just the old butter chicken. Side note, I never knew it was called the other name, Mugmugtars. I never knew that. And then one day you said, oh, do you want one of those? And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And he goes, butter chicken. I was like, no, I don't want a butter chicken. I come to your restaurant and eat a butter chicken. Nothing against butter chicken, by the way, especially Little India butter chicken, no sugar. That was an interesting thing we found out one day. Like your curries don't have sugar inside them, right?
So traditionally, it's not the way that that our family recipes are made. It's I think sugar's been put into North Indian cuisine. I think in New Zealand a bit maybe more for the Western palate. But the way we cook our recipes is just the same way that we cook them at home. So.
That was really interesting when we started promoting that, though. Because people didn't know that. I would say a small hinge swings a big door. People didn't actually know. People just thought there was sugar in curries, right? And then when we explained, well, no, this is how we do it. And it was with a cashew paste and something else?
So we make it with crushed cashews, cream, a whole lot of other spices as well. So it's like a tomato base with crushed cashews.
Which was really interesting because then people started saying, is it keto friendly? And I was like, is it keto friendly? And you were like, I think it is. And then
first I had to figure out what keto was.
I
didn't know. But the majority of our menu is keto friendly because we don't add, we don't add any sort of flours or anything to thicken our sauces, or there's no sugar in any of our curries. So majority of our menu is keto friendly, which is cool. Yeah,
and another thing then that we put on the menu was cauliflower rice.
Yeah.
Crazy. I hadn't even heard of cauliflower rice. All of a sudden you put it on the menu and it went nuts.
Well, people just kept on asking what for cauliflower. And I didn't know what cauliflower rice was.
No.
So I went online, had a look at a couple of recipes and said, okay, well, pretty much it's just, whisked up cauliflower, which is substituted for rice. So how can we chuck a few Indian flavours in there to make it work? Yeah. And so I just went in the kitchen with a couple of the guys and had a bit of a play, and then we started, and
super tasty.
People love it.
Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing is being a bit more innovative as well, which really helps during those times as well. I think like obviously tough times they don't last, right? But tough businesses do, and I think that's the coolest thing is you've got some sharp minds in there that've been in the restaurant game for quite a while, starting to think about things and think about how you can do things differently. I think that's you're in good shape when you can bring those people together. From your perspective, where do you see like Little India, 3, 4, 5 years from now? What's your
three? Hopefully still operating.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure it will be. But and with maybe a couple more restaurants, I know that there's a couple of our guys who are sort of newer franchisees who are quite keen to have a look at a couple of other locations.
Nice.
Sticking to the traditions that we have. There a lot of, I think, restaurants in a lot of places sort of have innovated and done sort of different things, but I think people always tend to come back to us for the core. Like they, I don't know, basic's probably the wrong word, but the traditional curry, with the rice and naan, and people, as long as the food is good and you keep on, don't take any shortcuts, get it right, then I think people will keep coming.
Well, the word I reckon is quality. You've got quality food, quality service, and a quality environment. Which when you walk into any of your restaurants, you can tell that, right? And then people will keep coming back because of that quality. So I don't think you have too much to worry about there because the standard has always been quite high, which is exciting. What about other? Do you see other types of Indian food like coming into the marketplace? What excites you about that?
There's a lot of sort of street food influence sort of stuff coming in. There's a lot of sort of fusion Indian happening as well. So all of that stuff, I always like to go and try it, and I enjoy it. And it's implementing a few of those things. And I mean, we've been looking at it and with our location in Hamilton, is that trying to come up with a couple of different things and put things specials and try them out, because food is always evolving, trends are always evolving, and tastes are always evolving. Like you said, years ago there was sort of the fish and chip shop and the Chinese takeaways, and now you've got so many different cuisines, and we're really lucky in New Zealand because I feel like the hospitality industry in New Zealand is fantastic, and you do get so many good restaurants, so many good operators that are out there, and great, not just great food, but great experiences when you go out.
What are some of your favourite restaurants have you outside Little India?
Outside of Little India, some of my favourite restaurants in Christchurch, I really like Chi Chi Kitchen.
Nice.
Really nice pasta, all freshly made. In Auckland, we go to, I've forgotten the name of it now. It's got a funny name. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I'm not really good at remembering the names of restaurants. Most of the time, my wife books the restaurants and takes me out because she knows where all the good places are. And I just sort of go and eat and enjoy. But she always makes sure that she finds a table for me where I can't really see what is going on, like in the kitchens. Because otherwise, I sit and sort of watch what's going down. And not just critiquing, but also enjoying watching the atmosphere, especially if you can get a bit of a glimpse of the kitchen and watching everyone working. It's sort of I love that sort of stuff.
Why do you love that? What's your
because it's just for me, for a restaurant, the heart and soul is the kitchen of the restaurant. I enjoy doing that the most now of anything that I do is getting time to spend in the kitchen and just it's a high pressure environment, especially when things get busy. But it's also so much fun that feeling, I guess, that adrenaline, or that after you've had if you get hit hard for a couple of hours in the kitchen and everything gets out and all the customers are happy and you've done done good sales for the night, it's a great feeling at the end.
Yeah, because like it is quite intense, right? Like it's a short period of time, and you don't really think about this when you've ordered the food, right? You're just worried about your meal. But if I've seen some of the nights you guys have, there's a lot of people ordering food, right? And that'll be quite intense because it's such a condensed period of time. How do you cope with that stress?
You just get it done.
You
just get it done, and also like we've got chefs that are working in it and have been working in there for a long time. They've got a lot of experience, and you just try and be as accurate as you can with the timings. But as you said, we get some of our restaurants can be busy between 5 and 9 o'clock or 5 and 8 o'clock, and that's the business for the day, and it's all jam packed into those few hours, and you just make it work.
Well, how much preparation goes into that? Like you're doing a lot during the day to get the
prep work is, well, that's the key to our food. Like as I was saying earlier, shortcuts, right? So you don't take any shortcuts in the preparation. You get our curry masala, which is sort of the ginger, onion, garlic, tomato sort of base, which we make for the thing. We make that in a bigger pot and so that's sort of ready to go. But if you don't, that takes us like 1.5 to 2 days to cook.
Wow.
From starting peeling the onions, and, all that sort of stuff. So if you don't take the time to get that part right, then the end result's never going to be good.
Yeah, totally. Like so that base is critical, right?
100%.
Yeah. So and obviously quality checks along the way, making sure everything's right and getting it all right. I guess that's why that's why it is so good though, right? If you got all those base ingredients right, then your curries, your curries are a chance, right? Yeah. When you've had a bad curry, you can tell like sometimes that it's just not nice, right?
Yeah.
The poor quality of meat or poor quality of sauce and stuff, and you can tell. Maybe they just haven't spent that time.
Yeah.
I noticed one thing. You don't eat rice with your curry. Like, why is that? Like,
ever since I was little, I've always loved breads with my Indian food.
Yeah.
Love rotis, homemade rotis, and naans, and for me the flavour, I just prefer it with bread. The only time that I really have rice with Indian food is if I'm having a biryani, which is a rice dish.
Yeah,
but
beautiful.
Yeah, I love. It's also the thing of like you got the curry there and you keep with your hand. That's that experience of doing that too. Yeah.
I remember being in Ireland of all places in Dublin, and I went for a curry, and they sat us down on the ground and we had banana leaves on the floor.
Oh yeah.
And ate off the banana leaves, and I could tell that the curry was hot because my fingers started burning. And I ended up getting all these sweats. So it's just too hot. Because we made a mistake of having how hot it was. That's kind of the standing joke, though. Like, how hot can you really have a curry before it becomes ridiculous? Because I remember back in the day, my dad and his mates would play cricket. Then they'd order, and some of the guys could just have curry that was so hot.
I think everyone's palate's different, right? So people can cope with higher, hotness level. But there's also that for me. Also, I find that people say that this curry is too spicy or whatever. So for me, spicy and hot are two different things.
Yeah. Okay.
So because hot is just chili, or a combination of chili or chili powder or green chili or whatever. But then a spicy curry it's just a good mix of all of the other spices that go on. So
nice.
even if you want something that is hot, if the balance of the other spices aren't right, then there's no flavour actually in the rest of the curry. All you're going to taste is the chili.
The chili.
So, for example, like for me personally, if I'm going to have a say like a butter chicken or a chicken tikka masala, one of the creamier sort of dishes, then for me going anything more than sort of medium to hot, I don't feel like I'm going to get the It just sort of ruins the flavour for me a little bit.
Yeah.
But then if I'm going to have a Madras, jalfrezi or a vindaloo, then give me hot, because that's what brings the other flavours out.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. What would you say to someone who's never tried curry before? Because there'll be people here listening that have never tried a curry before. What would you say? Where should they start?
Where should they start? It again depends on palate. Like, do you like lamb better? Do you like chicken better? Do you like vegetarian better? And if you are coming into one of our restaurants, just talk to the staff. Like,
cool.
I know, because there is all that sort of sometimes that you get that fear of ordering and you don't know what to order.
Yeah, true.
But don't, when you come, if you do come and see us, don't worry about that. The staff, just talk to them and say, look, I'm not really sure what to order. Yeah. I do want to try something different than just a butter chicken.
Yeah.
They'll probably ask the same questions.
Yeah.
What do you like? What do you prefer? Something creamier, something a little bit less creamy, or a drier dish? What sort of meat or whatever do you want, or do you want vegetarian? And they'll just talk you through it, and then hopefully by the end of it, whatever's produced for dinner is going to be to the liking.
Yeah. I reckon that'd be quite a cool experience to go there for the first time and just try a few different dishes. Do you do any of that sort of stuff? Like where people can try different dishes? I think that'd be cool.
So we've got like a banquet menu which sort of does sort of a selection of what we have there. And the lunch times we do our talis, which is, you get a bit of a selection on the big silver plate with the different compartments. It's a tali, and then so you've got a choice of a couple of different things that go in there, and so to mix it up a little bit. But
nice.
Yeah, don't be afraid to cheat on your butter chicken.
Cheat on your butter chicken. I love that. Like you've got to cheat on your butter chicken because you can't just have butter chicken. It's just not. It's not right. It's very New Zealand though.
It is. I mean, but that's not one of my dishes that I have a lot. But then when I have it, then you do know why it's so tasty. Why people keep on ordering it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey Arjun, so let's talk a wee bit about marketing. And how you think marketing's changed over the years. What's your take on the marketing landscape?
Marketing has changed, I think, for us heaps. When technology changes, then marketing also, I feel, changes too. Like for us, for such a long period of time, all that would happen for potentially a manager or someone in the restaurant would be they'd just be on the phone.
Yep.
Between that sort of 5:30 to 7:30, and all they're doing was taking phone calls, writing down on a piece of paper takeaway orders, taking them to the kitchen. And now I would say probably probably more like 90% of our orders come through online. And before, when the phone orders were happening, there was no online. Like what was online? So I still remember having a conversation with my dad saying, "We need a website." What is a website?
Wow.
Well, what do we need that for? And people are not going to look at that, and we've got to add in the yellow pages. People know our telephone number. And so from that to being now having a Facebook page, a TikTok page, an Instagram. People are on their phones all the time and connected that way. Massive changes to what it was when I think the business started.
I like what you said there, though. When technology changes, the business changes, right? And it's so true, right? Because you could definitely, back in the day, you could have a business called A1 whatever. They rank in the yellow pages, and now it's just completely different. And like, why do I need a website? And they were all these things that business owners have had to get used to, right? And that just keeps evolving. I think you've kept up with it pretty well, though. Like I guess that's been your role, is driving the visibility of that. And so getting buy-in, how have you found that, getting buy-in with at the end of the day, your franchisees and stuff like that?
Initially was probably more difficult than what it is now. Especially when Dad was more involved with the business. He had his ideas of the way things sort of were going to work, and I had mine. So that was a challenge in itself. Father-son relationship, plus working together, and also I guess me transitioning from sort of working in the restaurants for the franchisees or for the the managers at the time, and then sort of being sort of talking to them and say, hey, we're going to do things. I guess a role shift a little bit. But all of our guys, all of the owners, they want to be the first that are doing things. And they like to also take a risk. They like to try doing things differently to stay relevant or be the leaders. And a lot of times, we might find that we do something and then we see a lot of other people sort of doing the same thing or following too, which is a bit of a compliment, I think.
Totally. And I guess that's but the cool thing there is the willingness to try and push the boundaries of what you can do, right? Because hey, look, it's easy. Like I just say, if you guys do have such a visual product as well. Like it's a visual product. It's a behind the scenes kind of product as well. Like you let people in a wee bit. I think it's really cool that you guys have bought into that, because it creates that that chemistry with people. And look, I don't know about you, but when you see food being cooked, it makes me hungry. You talking about those different curries, I went straight to my brain and was like, yep, I know what that chicken jalfrezi tastes like, right? And I think that's the coolest thing when you are marketing a product like this, getting in behind the scenes, meeting the people, seeing who's cooking your food, but then seeing what's happening and how they're doing. I think it's a pretty cool thing to do, and it creates that chemistry, that buzz around a restaurant. So keep doing that.
we'll keep trying.
Yeah. It's interesting though, like even online ordering, how that's changed, right? Like the technology that's come out with that. As you said before, people are on the phone having to take those orders. Now online ordering just exploded onto the scene, and obviously that's really revolutionised your business. Where do you see? I guess have you ever had any thoughts about what's next in that space? Have you?
It's always changed. So we've had our own online ordering system and our own app and that sort of thing, and then all of a sudden, Uber Eats comes along and all these other ones. So
disruption,
and that's huge disruption. I mean, challenging as well because we're having to pay a percentage of the hard work that we're doing to Uber to get the food out to people. But the thing is, customers are using it, and so I get a little bit. I mean, if I created Uber, I'd be bloody happy because the customers getting paying the people that are producing the food are getting are paying Uber, but also so many friends of people that I talk to, they're like, oh yeah, we just got an Uber Eats last night for dinner.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
They don't even talk about the restaurant that the food has come from. So that you sort of get lost a little bit too, which is
they created that brand around it, right? And
huge. Yeah. But then it's such a good tool. Like I was saying earlier, we're doing that sort of midnight snack sort of menu, start trying that out in Dunedin. And that's all just coming through Uber, and it's at the end of the day, it's cash flow coming in, and you've got businesses, you need that.
Well, they have the distribution model, right? Like they have the reach and the distribution, and I guess those habits, right? They're spending a bunch of time to own those habits.
Yeah.
Hey, so Arjun, this has been a really interesting conversation. I really appreciate your willingness to share the Little India story and how it's developed. We talk about shift gears a wee bit and talk a wee bit more about yourself and I guess the mindset that you bring. And we talked before about you started reading books and stuff. How do you keep yourself going on a daily basis? What's some of the things that you do?
What motivates me, I guess, is what keeps me going. Just I want to be able to, be able to provide and look after my family. Really, that's one of the things that
a beautiful young family too. 2 young girls and a beautiful wife.
Thank you.
So I guess that's in the forefront.
Yeah, that's and also there's when you talk about the business and everything that's been built by my parents. I want to make sure that. Those traditions, everything like that carries on going the way it should. And also there's a lot of people involved with our business. There's, the owners of the individual restaurants, their staff. Just you want to make sure that things keep on going so that, their livelihoods are being looked after. That's the sort of thing that I guess motivates me. I have recently started, we were talking before about, reading a few books and getting a bit more, I guess, knowledge and information from that, and just is always interesting. I like learning new things.
What sort of stuff do you like learning?
Anything that I don't know. So I recently got my learner's license for a motorbike.
Cool.
Just something that I'd never done, but I've always thought having a motorbike was cool.
Nice.
I've been accused of having a midlife crisis, but I don't believe that's true at all.
Are you going to get a Harley?
No, I want to get a Royal Enfield. There's an Indian connection with the Royal Enfield bike, which are really popular over in India.
Where do you get those from?
You can get them. You can buy them locally here.
Nice.
So I've got the license sorted, and I was going to get one, but then my sister decided that she was having her 40th birthday in Thailand, so taking the family on holiday instead, and I have to wait for a little bit longer before I get the bike. But just little things like that, things that I've been interested in, haven't done, and it's like, well, if I don't keep learning or keep doing something that sparks my interest, then I get bored. And golf for me is another thing.
You're really good at golf, aren't you?
I'm not good at golf, but I want to get better at golf. And I know I can probably get better, but then it's that thing with golf. It's just always, anytime you think you've got something going with golf, it comes and sort of teaches you that no, you don't.
It's a good leveler, isn't it? Golf.
100%.
Yeah, because it's a mind game too, right? Like it definitely plays on your mind,
and that's why I like it the most is the and also the little bit of competitive sortness that you have with your mates that you play with and that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Okay, so motorbikes and golfing. That's pretty cool.
Motorbikes not yet, but hopefully.
And with regards to the books, what are you sort of reading? What sort of stuff do you do?
I just read The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, great book.
I'm reading at the moment The World's Greatest Salesman, and I'm taking my time to read that, because when you read that book, it sort of talks about the advice that the person is giving to the new person who's got the information. They tells them to read it in a certain way. And so I've decided that I'll read it the same way that you were told to in that book. So it's taken me a while to read it, because I have to read the same sort of thing for a month or whatever it is. So I just find it interesting. Like before, when I was young, I never really read.
No. I think it opens up a brand new world to you as well. Like The Richest Man in Babylon, not an easy book to read, but like structure-wise, from a money perspective, great story, great learnings from that. And if you didn't know that, you don't know that, right? So the ability to read does open up other worlds for you. So I think it's, when you start to read, you kind of get that bug, right? For it,
you do.
That's cool.
I like to find something that's challenging too. Like I played a couple of instruments when I was younger. I've always said that when I get a bit more time, I want to start doing that again. Just always doing something new.
I remember Jim Rohn. He said in reading a book one day, he said, never read the easy stuff. And I've always been a big believer in that too. Push yourself to read some stuff outside your comfort zone or outside your era. That's why I've read a couple of books recently that I really, really enjoy, and it's like would have never read them before. But he kind of always in the back of your head going, hey, don't just read the easy stuff. What's the number one takeaway you got from The Richest Man in Babylon?
The number one takeaway from that book was just the way they talked about paying yourself first. I think that was, for me, that was like, because you have all your responsibilities, you have the things that you do, but if you're not going to have that little bit that you're sort of putting somewhere and having a look at it and enjoying watching it grow, then you lose, I guess, the fun and enjoyment of what, earning money or creating profit actually does.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. Great takeaway. Pay yourself first. I'm a massive believer in that. There's another great book you can read on that as well. Kind of like the modern day version, maybe, is a guy called Scott Pepe, is The Barefoot Investor.
Okay.
Has a really good kids book on it as well.
And
it can actually help your kids get involved in how all that works. So
I've already said to my daughter when I've finished The World's Greatest Salesman that I want her to sort of read, because both my kids love reading. I want to sort of start them young and get them interested in it, and I guess learn those things that I guess I was sort of brought up around, and I sort of learned from seeing from my parents doing it. But to try and I'm sort of learning a little bit more too. So hopefully they'll get interested in it.
How cool is that? As a dad, you can do that, right? You can inspire them to do stuff as well. That's awesome. Hey, I'm going to put you on the spot. Now, this has been a great conversation, but I'm going to look you down the camera and say, hey, look, if I was starting a restaurant tomorrow. You being the knowledge that you have, the family knowledge, the restaurant knowledge you have, what are the 5 things you would do to someone if you said someone came in and said, "Hey, Arjun, I'm going to start a restaurant tomorrow." What are the 5 things you'd recommend they do? And you can't say don't do it.
No, I wouldn't say don't do it. I would say to them, what is the food? What are your recipes? Have you got your recipes sorted? Because I think no matter what happens in restaurant business, people are always going to come back for the basic thing, which is the food. So food is number one. And also the food that you're doing, how is it different, or what is going to make it stand out from all your other competitors? What else are the things that I'd talk about is, are you don't do it, but are you sure you want to get into this industry? Because it's long hours, late nights, timings are hard, and you spend a lot of time away from your family.
So be really clear on, hey,
you got to be prepared to, I guess it's with anything, but there is sacrifices, and if you haven't done it before, then and you haven't had any experience in it, then it is a bit of a wake up call.
So maybe even go and work for someone first, right? Like get involved in a restaurant, see if you like it.
That's what my dad did as well. From the dairy that they had before they opened the restaurant, our family friends who have restaurants in Sydney, Dad went and worked in the kitchen with them to figure out how it works.
That's good advice, eh? Go and experience it first, see if it actually is for you. Nice. Does location make a difference?
Location does make a difference, but again, like with location comes higher rent. Right? So everyone knows where there's going to be a lot of foot traffic and you're going to pay higher rent. So, but people will still travel for good food.
Good food. Nice.
If it's good enough, people will travel.
Totally. What else? What else would you say to them?
What else would I say to them?
Well, what about like because you've got to really understand the knowledge of the game, right? So the food buying, you've really got to understand people and all. There's a whole bunch of those things.
Yeah, I think people is one. If you're going to be, especially if your main role or what you see yourself doing is being front of house.
Yeah.
Then you got to be a personable person. You've got to enjoy communicating with people. But and that's actually one thing that I would say to people is that if you're going to open a restaurant, then you also need to know the kitchen. You can't just rely on your chef, because if you for some reason your chef's not doing what you want them to do, or you have a falling out with your chef, chefs can be quite passionate people. Then and if they go, does that mean that your business goes too? So you need to be able to do the kitchen work also.
So you need to have you need to have experience. I guess choose a part of the business that you want to be a part of, but you have to have an overall all-round experience as
well.
And
also business-wise too, as far as that is just understand cash flow. Cash flow is so important to any business. Like, understand, the money that's coming in every day is not what goes in your back pocket. You've got a whole lot of other responsibilities you have to do first. Do first before you can start seeing what the profit is.
Definitely. I think most business owners learn that the hard way. And like, I guess that's why, the beautiful thing of having structures inside a business and getting good advice is really, really key. Hey, Arjun, this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Sorry it's taken so long.
No pressure, and it's been great. I know you're a busy person. Where do people find out about you guys, and how can people get in touch with you?
Find out about us on our website, littleindia.co.nz. Check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and we've got some cool stuff coming up on TikTok, which you guys have been helping us put together as well.
It's looking really good.
More video content, which people sort of tend to be engaging with. So just you can find us on our website, I guess.
We'll link all of that in the show notes as well. But I really appreciate you coming on. And look, anyone who's listening, and if you've never tried a Little India curry before, you go on and experience Little India. You'll be welcomed with open arms, and it really is a traditional Indian eating experience. And the people there really do care. So I really appreciate our friendship. I know the team love working with you and all the guys and girls around New Zealand. So we really appreciate it, and it's been awesome to have this chat and to talk about what you guys have been doing over the last few years. So thanks for your time, everyone. Have a great day.
Cheers, Scott. Thanks, mate.